Amara Daniels stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of the apartment she shared with her husband, Leo Carter, admiring the city lights. She'd just finished preparing his favorite meal, roasted chicken with rosemary, a side of creamy mashed potatoes, and a garden salad. Everything was perfect, just like the image she had created of their marriage. Their story wasn't exactly a fairy tale. Money had always been tight, and Amara often worked 2 jobs to support Leo's budding business ventures. Despite her exhaustion, she believed in his dreams, and she believed in their love. Leo was charming and ambitious, always coming home with stories of potential investors and groundbreaking deals. He would wrap an arm around Amara and whisper, "We're going to make it big, babe. You'll see." His optimism was infectious. Amara felt proud that she could stand beside him in his pursuit of success. Earlier that evening, as she set the table with their modest but beloved cutlery, she reminisced about their first date. They had split a single milkshake in a little diner because they were too broke to order 2. Yet they laughed the entire time, and Amara still felt a warm flutter whenever she remembered that night. She hummed a tune, lighting a small candle in the center of the table. It was moments like this that made her think their struggles were worth it. The front door clicked open, and she rushed toward the entryway with a hopeful smile. But instead of Leo's usual warm greeting, he walked past her, heading straight for the bedroom without a word. A knot formed in her stomach. "Leo," she called softly, following him. "I made dinner. Everything is ready. I thought we could eat together." He muttered something about a headache, not even meeting her gaze. She noticed he didn't bring his briefcase home. That was unusual. He never went anywhere without it. Yet she tried to remain positive, mentally brushing off any hints of trouble. Perhaps he'd had a bad day. Later that night, she watched him push the food around on his plate absent-mindedly. He barely said a word about her cooking, which had once been enough to make him groan in delight. A chill of foreboding crept into her heart, but she told herself they were just going through a rough patch. After all, every couple had ups and downs. She tried to coax him into conversation. "How was work? Did you meet anyone interesting today?" But Leo just shrugged and eventually stood from the table, leaving the food half-eaten. "I'm going to bed," he said shortly. Alone at the table, Amara fought the sting of tears. The city lights outside felt less magical now. The perfect marriage she had always boasted about to friends seemed like a fragile piece of glass, ready to shatter at the slightest touch. Amara tidied up the leftovers, reminding herself that they had weathered storms before. She believed in her husband, and she believed love could conquer even the darkest clouds. Yet in the back of her mind, she couldn't ignore the tremor of dread that warned something bigger was looming, something that would tear apart her carefully constructed world. A week passed, and the distance between them only grew. One evening, Amara found herself in the hallway outside Leo's makeshift home office. She heard muffled laughter, his laughter, but it was strangely flirtatious, a tone he hadn't used with her in months. She hovered, feeling guilty for eavesdropping yet drawn in by the unsettling feeling deep in her gut. Yes. I'll handle that," Leo said into the phone. "Sophia, trust me, you're the only one I care about right now." Amara's breath hitched. Sophia. He was practically purring her name. Her heart pounded violently, and she slowly stepped backward, unable to confront him directly. This couldn't be happening. Leo wouldn't be that cruel. Right? She retreated to the living room and sank into the couch, trying to calm herself. Maybe she's a business partner, she reasoned. Maybe it's just how he talks to close investors. But no matter how hard she tried to rationalize, her heart refused to settle. Later that night, she pretended to be asleep when Leo slipped into bed. He smelled of an unfamiliar perfume, floral and expensive. Amara's eyes stung with tears she wouldn't allow to fall. She still clung to hope. Maybe there was a logical explanation. If she confronted him, it might push him away. She decided to wait for the right moment, convinced that once they truly talked, they could resolve any misunderstanding. The next day, she visited her best friend, Nia. Over coffee, Nia picked up on Amara's unusually quiet demeanor. "Okay, spill it," Nia said, folding her arms. "I know you, Amara. Something's off." Amara glanced around the bustling cafe before leaning in. I think Leo might be seeing someone else." Her voice trembled with the admission. Nia's eyebrows arched, and she reached across the table, placing a reassuring hand over Amara's. "What makes you say that?" Amara recounted the phone call, the perfume, the way Leo seemed perpetually distant. "I'm scared, Nia. He means everything to me, and I don't want to lose him." Her voice cracked on the last words, and tears threatened to spill. Nia squeezed her hand. "You deserve the truth. If he's fooling around, you have to confront him. Don't just let him walk all over you. You're smart, talented, and you've sacrificed so much for this marriage." Amara swallowed hard. She knew her friend was right, yet she felt paralyzed. After all, her entire identity was wrapped up in being Leo's wife, in supporting him. That evening, she tried to confront Leo gently. "Hey, can we talk about us?" she asked as he was scrolling through his phone. "I feel like there's a distance. Is there anything going on that we should discuss?" Leo barely looked up. "You're imagining things, Amara," he dismissed. "I'm just busy. My business is about to hit a major turning point, and I need all the focus I can get." She wanted to ask about Sophia. She wanted to demand answers. But the fear of hearing the worst kept her silent. Leo's brisk manner, his cold gaze, told her she wouldn't get any reassurance tonight. As the days wore on, her suspicions grew stronger. The name Sophia popped up in hushed phone calls. Leo began coming home later and later, leaving Amara in a vortex of worry and heartbreak. Though she still clung to the last vestiges of her hope, a gnawing certainty told her that the man she had once known so intimately was already halfway out the door. Valentine's Day approached, a holiday that had always carried special significance for them. Despite the tension, Amara decided to plan a romantic evening, hoping to rekindle their connection. She invested her last bit of savings into a candlelit dinner. Red roses adorned the table, and she even bought a new dress, a simple but elegant burgundy number that hugged her curves. She marinated steaks, prepared garlic butter shrimp, and baked a heart-shaped chocolate cake for dessert. She wanted this night to be memorable, to serve as a reminder of why they fell in love in the first place. Yet as the hours ticked by, her worry grew. Leo was supposed to arrive at 7. By 9, the candles had burned low, and the food sat cold and untouched. The new dress suddenly felt like a foolish investment, and every passing second chipped away at Amara's remaining optimism. Finally, around 10:30, she heard the jingle of keys at the front door. Her heart lurched. He's home. She rushed to greet him, only to find that he didn't step inside. Instead, he merely shoved an envelope under the door. She picked it up, confusion twisting her features. Inside were divorce papers. Amara felt as if the air had been sucked out of the room. Her hands trembled as she read the document. The lines were cruelly matter-of-fact. "Leo Carter seeks a dissolution of marriage." She stumbled back, noticing a note in Leo's handwriting clipped to the top. "You were good enough when I had nothing, but I need a woman who matches my new status." She sank to the floor, the words echoing in her mind like a vicious chant. "Good enough when I had nothing. Need a woman who matches my status." Struggling to her feet, she threw the door open. Leo stood there with a cold, impassive expression, already turning away. "Leo, what is this?" she gasped, tears pooling in her eyes. He exhaled, looking inconvenienced. "I've moved on, Amara. Sign the papers. There's no need to drag this out." "But, how could you do this? On Valentine's Day, of all days?" Her voice quivered, a desperate whisper. He glanced at the rose petals scattered on the hallway floor, the flicker of candlelight dancing across her tear-streaked face. For a moment, he hesitated, almost as if something like guilt passed through him. But then he hardened. "Sophia's father is an influential investor. I need real connections to grow. Look, you're not part of my future anymore." With that, he stepped into the elevator. The doors closed, carrying him out of her life in one brutal motion. Amara stood there, the divorce papers clutched in her trembling hands, tears finally cascading down her cheeks. The extravagant dinner she had prepared felt like a mockery now. She returned to the living room in a daze, gazing upon the table decked with roses, wine, and carefully arranged silverware. The flickering candles seemed to reveal the hollowness of everything she believed in. In that singular, crushing moment, she knew the perfect marriage she had been clinging to was gone. Everything she had sacrificed, every dream she had set aside for Leo, had been rewarded with betrayal. Within 48 hours, Leo made good on another cruel promise. He forced Amara out of their shared apartment. She had nowhere to go. Her meager savings had been exhausted by her attempts to maintain their household and support Leo's business plans. She packed her belongings, mostly clothing and sentimental items, into a single suitcase. Everything else, including the furniture and appliances, Leo claimed as his property because he had paid for them with his business earnings. It didn't matter that her money had funded their life when he was still floundering. Now that he was on the rise, he showed no remorse for leaving her with nothing. With shaky hands, she called her best friend, Nia. I have nowhere to go," Amara managed to say between sobs. Nia didn't hesitate. "Come stay with me. Don't even think twice about it." Amara arrived at Nia's tiny one-bedroom apartment later that evening. The place was cramped, but it was warm and welcoming. Nia wrapped her in a tight embrace. "I'm sorry, girl," she murmured, tears in her own eyes. "Leo is trash. You deserve so much better." For the next few days, Amara barely left the sofa. She felt paralyzed by a cocktail of emotions: betrayal, heartbreak, humiliation, and an overwhelming sense of loss. The shame of being discarded by the man she had given everything to gnawed at her constantly. Nia tried to coax her into small tasks: eating, bathing, even just sitting by the window for some fresh air. But Amara often lay curled up in bed, tears streaking her cheeks. How could he do this? The question looped in her mind endlessly. Each day, a new blow landed. Leo's social media photos showed him arm in arm with Sophia, a beautiful brunette dressed in designer gowns, her diamond bracelets flashing like condemnation. The captions were nauseating: celebrating new beginnings, or to bigger, better things. In the background of these pictures, the glittering city skyline served as a testament to the lavish life Leo now basked in. Amara felt each post like a stab wound. One afternoon, Nia came into the bedroom. "You can't stay in bed forever," she said gently, brushing the hair off Amara's forehead. "I know this is devastating, but you have to move forward." Amara's voice trembled. "I have no job, no home, and no money. Leo was my life. I feel like a discarded rag." Nia frowned. "That's exactly how he wants you to feel. But you're stronger than this. We'll get through it together." Yet despite Nia's unwavering support, Amara struggled to see a future that wasn't consumed by heartbreak. She had spent so many years living for Leo, propping him up, that she barely recognized herself without him. In the dark nights, she questioned if she had any value at all. In those low moments, she couldn't imagine that the universe might have different plans for her, plans that would transform her despair into something extraordinary. All she could sense was the deep chasm of betrayal and the urgent need to figure out how to survive another day. Amara woke up one morning, eyes swollen from yet another night of tears, to find Nia on the phone in a heated discussion. Nia glanced at her and whispered, "The person on the other end wants to speak with you, says he's a lawyer named Theodore Jameson." Amara's heart skipped a beat. She immediately wondered if Leo was pulling another legal trick. She took the phone cautiously. "Hello." A crisp male voice responded. "Ms. Daniels, my name is Theodore Jameson. I represent the estate of Frederick Daniels, your grandfather." Her mind reeled. She barely remembered her grandfather. As a child, her father had cut ties with him over a family dispute she never understood. Now this lawyer was speaking of him like some distant figure of authority. "My grandfather passed away years ago," she stammered. "I didn't even know him." "Nonetheless," Theodore said, "he left behind a will with specific instructions that you be contacted. Could we meet in person to discuss the details? It's extremely important, and time-sensitive." Amara's curiosity flared despite her weariness. "Oh, okay. When and where?" They arranged a meeting for the following day at a small, upscale law office across town. Nia insisted on accompanying her. Amara arrived trembling with nerves, expecting yet another blow. She couldn't fathom what her estranged grandfather might have left her. Inside the office, Theodore greeted them politely. He was a dignified man in his late 50s, sporting a tailored suit that spoke of old money. "Ms. Daniels," he said, extending a hand. "I'm sorry for the delay in contacting you. There were certain legal complications, but now we're free to proceed with your grandfather's final wishes." Amara sank into a chair opposite him. I don't understand. My father severed ties with my grandfather. I never even got to say goodbye." Theodore offered a sympathetic nod. "Yes, Frederick always regretted the estrangement. However, he followed your life from a distance. And in his will, he named you his sole heir." She blinked, heart thudding painfully. "Sole heir to what?" His face remained composed. Frederick Daniels founded Daniels Tech, a multinational technology conglomerate. It's valued at over $1 billion. Essentially, it belongs to you now, pending a few formalities. Nia gasped, and Amara nearly slid out of her chair. Her mouth went dry. "That can't be right. I don't know anything about business. Why would he leave it to me?" Theodore interlaced his fingers. "Your grandfather believed in family legacy. He never stopped hoping for reconciliation. He left specific instructions. You're to assume control as CEO of Daniels Tech, but you must claim it within a set window, 1 week from now. If you fail to come forward, the entire estate will default to other distant relatives, who may choose to dismantle the company." He wanted to ensure that your father's line, your line, had the chance to carry on his legacy. Amara's thoughts whirled. A billionaire fortune, a massive company, a position as CEO? Everything felt surreal. She'd gone from being homeless and heartbroken to having a potential empire at her fingertips. It was too much to process in a single conversation. "Are you sure you have the right person?" she asked weakly, still in disbelief. He offered her a sad smile. "Quite certain. Frederick's research was thorough. You're the correct beneficiary." Nia gripped Amara's arm. "This changes everything," she whispered. "This is your chance to rebuild." Amara swallowed, tears threatening to spill down her cheeks, but not tears of sorrow this time, tears of overwhelming shock and a stirring sense of hope. "What do I have to do?" she asked. "We'll need your signature on several documents, and there's an official reading of the will. If you agree, I can arrange for transportation to the estate, where you can see what you're inheriting." Amara nodded, her heart beating like a drum in her chest. The woman who had woken up that morning as a penniless, broken ex-wife now found herself confronted with a future that gleamed with possibilities. She had no inkling how to run a billion-dollar company, but the mere thought of reclaiming her dignity, and then some, sparked a flicker of determination. The following day, Amara boarded a bus bound for the small town where her grandfather's estate was located. Nia came along for moral support, and they spent the entire ride peering out the windows, trying to guess which grand mansion might be Frederick Daniels's. The scenery transitioned from city high-rises to rolling countryside, dotted with sprawling estates. When the bus finally pulled into a quaint station, Theodore Jameson was waiting for them in a sleek black car. He opened the door politely, guiding them into the leather-lined interior. The drive to the estate took another 15 minutes, winding along a private lane flanked by towering oak trees. At the end of the lane stood a majestic, Tudor-style mansion, ivy crawling along its ancient walls, massive windows reflecting the afternoon sunlight. Amara stepped out of the car, her legs slightly shaking. "This is mine," she thought in disbelief. Theodore led them across a gravel courtyard and through ornate double doors into a grand foyer with marble floors and a sweeping staircase. Paintings, likely priceless, adorned the walls, and a massive crystal chandelier sparkled overhead. "We have a lot to cover," Theodore said, offering her a solemn nod. "Your grandfather was a private man, but he maintained impeccable business operations. Daniels Tech is headquartered in the city, with multiple branches worldwide. He handled most affairs remotely from here in his later years." Nia let out a low whistle. "Amara, this is incredible. You could fit my entire apartment in just this foyer." Amara's eyes roamed the space, a storm of emotions surging within her, regret that she'd never known this side of her grandfather, gratitude for his astonishing final gift, and a deep-rooted fear about whether she was up to the task. But under it all, a growing kernel of resolve. I can't let his legacy go to waste. Over the next few hours, Theodore explained the structure of Daniel's Tech, the major partnerships, and the scope of its global influence. He also laid out her grandfather's stipulations, that Amara would receive full ownership, but she had to sign the inheritance documents within the week or forfeit everything. It's a daunting responsibility, he acknowledged. But I'll guide you through every step. Your grandfather has a board of experienced executives who've kept the company thriving, but they will need to accept you as the official CEO. Amara exhaled shakily, thinking of how, just days ago, her life had seemed in ruins. Now she stood on the precipice of unimaginable fortune and power. I won't let him down, she whispered, touching the mahogany railing of the grand staircase. That evening, Theodore offered her a suite to stay in, to soak in the gravity of the situation. Nia accompanied her, wandering the mansion's corridors with wide-eyed fascination. As night fell, Amara found herself seated on a velvet chaise in a library that seemed plucked from a fairy tale, walls lined with countless books, a fireplace crackling warmly. Taking a deep breath, she allowed a slender ray of hope to penetrate her darkness. If her grandfather had believed in her enough to leave her this legacy, maybe she could learn to believe in herself. The betrayal she'd suffered at Leo's hands still weighed heavily on her, but for the first time in weeks, she felt something akin to excitement. Perhaps this was the universe giving her a chance to rise above her pain, to become someone she never dared dream she could be. At the law firm in the city a few days later, Amara signed the official inheritance documents. The pen felt absurdly heavy in her hand, as if it carried the weight of her entire future. Each stroke of ink made her heart pound. Once she set the pen down, Theodore extended a set of keys and a neatly typed folder of important codes and passwords. "Congratulations, Ms. Daniels," he said quietly. "You are now the CEO of Daniels Tech." Nia burst into an excited squeal, hugging Amara. "Can you believe this? From that heartbreak to this incredible opportunity in just a matter of days." Amara forced a shaky smile. She still felt like an imposter in a world of high finance and corporate maneuvering. But she knew she had to face the responsibility head-on. The media, it turned out, was already hungry for the story. Somehow, news had leaked that a previously unknown granddaughter had inherited the Daniels Tech fortune. Headlines in financial blogs and news sites speculated, the mystery heir to $1 billion empire. Leo's reaction came swiftly. Though Amara had him blocked on her phone, Nia received a barrage of messages from mutual acquaintances. "Leo is freaking out," Nia reported, eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "He's hearing rumors that you inherited a massive fortune." Amara's stomach clenched. The thought of Leo discovering her windfall was both satisfying and terrifying. Part of her wanted to see his face when he realized the woman he discarded was now wealthier than he ever dreamed of being. But another part of her remembered the pain he caused and the fear she felt standing up to him. Nevertheless, she couldn't hide from the world anymore. She scheduled a meeting with the Daniels Tech Board. When she arrived at the sleek, glass-encased skyscraper that served as the company's headquarters, a swarm of reporters huddled near the entrance, snapping photos and shouting questions. Cameras flashed as she stepped out of the car, Theodore by her side. Inside, Amara faced the board of directors, seasoned executives who had worked under Frederick for decades. They eyed her doubtfully, some with outright hostility. A middle-aged man with silver hair, who introduced himself as Martin Hale, cleared his throat. "Ms. Daniels, your appointment as CEO is unprecedented. May I ask about your business background?" Amara straightened in her chair. "I won't lie. I don't have extensive business credentials. But I'm eager to learn. My grandfather believed in me, and I'm determined to honor his trust." A few board members exchanged skeptical glances. One woman, Naomi Pierce, offered a small nod of encouragement. "We're prepared to guide you," she said. "Your grandfather's vision was always about cultivating new leadership. Perhaps you can bring a fresh perspective." After the meeting, Amara felt the tension in the air. Some members clearly doubted her ability, probably hoping she'd sign away control to them. But she wouldn't let them intimidate her. If her grandfather believed in her, then she would do everything in her power to prove she was worthy of his faith. That night, she returned to the estate, physically and emotionally drained. She walked through the grand halls, thinking of how her world had flipped upside down. Though fear gnawed at her, a quiet determination began to blossom. They think I'm just some naive girl who got lucky. I'm going to show them how wrong they are. Monday morning, Amara arrived at Daniel's Tech for her first official day as CEO. She wore a modest black suit, her hair neatly tied back, still clinging to a somewhat conservative style. She felt more like a frightened mouse than the new leader of a billion-dollar company. As she passed through the lobby, employees whispered. Some pointed, others simply stared. The tension was palpable. A few people politely greeted her, but many seemed unsure how to treat this newcomer who had appeared out of nowhere. She rode the elevator to the top floor, her pulse thudding in her ears. When the doors slid open, Martin Hale was waiting. "Ms. Daniels," he said neutrally, gesturing down the hallway. "Your office is right this way." He spoke as though he could barely hide his skepticism. The office was breathtaking, a corner suite with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the city skyline. A large mahogany desk sat near the window, and a plush seating area occupied the opposite corner. Yet the grandeur only made Amara feel more out of place. Martin handed her a stack of folders. "These are your grandfather's notes on upcoming projects, key clients, and pending deals. We're meeting with the executive team at 10 o'clock to discuss strategic initiatives." "Thank you," Amara said, her voice wavering slightly. She wondered if he detected the trembling in her hands. Once alone, she sank into the high-backed chair behind her desk. She swallowed hard, telling herself she could do this. For so long, she had been the supportive wife, cheering Leo on from the sidelines. She had never been the one in charge. Images of Leo, his mocking eyes, the divorce papers, flooded her mind. A surge of anger and determination welled within her. "I won't let anyone write me off again," she thought, flipping open the first folder. She began reading Frederick Daniels's final notes on expansions, product developments, and potential acquisitions. The language was complex, rife with jargon, but she forced herself to parse it. If she had learned anything from her years of sacrificing for Leo, it was that dedication and grit could carry a person farther than they ever thought possible. By the time the clock read 9:55 a.m., she had a rudimentary understanding of at least half the files. She stood, smoothing her suit. One step at a time, she reminded herself. The upcoming meeting was her first chance to make an impression as CEO. Whether they liked it or not, she was here, and she wasn't going anywhere. Over the next few weeks, Amara realized that first impressions in the corporate world carried enormous weight. Whispers circulated in the corridors. "She's just a housewife," and "she doesn't know what she's doing." Their dismissive attitudes fueled her resolve to transform, both in knowledge and presentation. Naomi Pierce, the board member who had shown some warmth, approached her one afternoon with a proposition. "Ms. Daniels, if I may suggest, there's a world-class image consultant I know, Jacqueline Royce. She's worked with CEOs and politicians to refine their public persona. It might help you gain the confidence and respect you deserve in this role." Amara hesitated, recalling how she used to pride herself on her down-to-earth style. Yet she now recognized that appearances could be a powerful tool. "Thank you, Naomi. Please set up an introduction." That weekend, she met Jacqueline Royce at a chic boutique downtown. The consultant was a woman of poised elegance, with sleek hair and an impeccable wardrobe. She circled Amara, eyeing her from head to toe. "You have natural grace," she declared. "But we need to accentuate your strengths and exude authority." Amara spent hours trying on tailored suits, pencil skirts, designer blouses, and heels that gave her an extra couple of inches in height. Jacqueline also advised her on posture, voice projection, and the subtle art of commanding a room. "Remember," she said, tapping Amara's wrist lightly, "people decide how to treat you within seconds of meeting you. Make those seconds count." The transformation was startling, even to Amara herself. Gone were her timid, slightly baggy outfits. In their place was a sleek, confident wardrobe. Her hair, once pulled back in a simple ponytail, now fell in smooth, glossy waves that framed her face. The makeup was subtle but professionally applied, enhancing her features without distracting from her natural beauty. On Monday morning, she stepped into Daniel's Tech's lobby radiating a whole new aura. Her fitted navy blue suit and poised stride made heads turn. Some employees nearly did a double take, unable to reconcile this composed figure with the unassuming woman they had seen weeks before. She marched into a board meeting where Martin Hale and other executives were already seated. Conversations died down as she took her seat at the head of the table. She opened the folder before her, meeting each person's gaze in turn. "Good morning. Let's begin with the quarterly review. I'd like an update on Project Aurora." A startled hush settled over the room before Martin cleared his throat, fumbling slightly with his notes. He provided an update, but for the first time, he seemed off balance, as though he wasn't expecting her to be so prepared or so commanding. Amara nodded thoughtfully. "Thank you. I want a more detailed breakdown, specifically on the cost-benefit analysis. We'll need to assess any new market risks before proceeding." One of the executives coughed. Of course, Ms. Daniels. We'll have that for you by the end of the day." After the meeting, Naomi Pierce caught up to her. "I'm impressed. You've certainly made an impact." Amara smiled. "I still have a lot to learn, but I'm committed to this. My grandfather trusted me with his company, and I intend to honor that trust." In just a short period, she had transformed not only her appearance but also her mindset. Every evening, she studied finance and leadership books, took notes from online business lectures, and consulted with Theodore and trusted executives. Slowly but surely, she felt less like an imposter and more like a leader ready to steer Daniel's Tech into a new era. And it was just the beginning. Amara plunged into her new reality with a fervor that astounded even herself. Day after day, she'd finish work meetings only to spend her evenings buried in financial reports, market analyses, and leadership manuals. Sometimes she left the office well past midnight, determined to prove her worth to the doubting eyes constantly upon her. Her grandfather's trusted advisor, Theodore Jameson, played a crucial role in her crash course in high-stakes business. They'd sit in her office going over spreadsheets, with Theodore patiently explaining every line item. "You're catching on quickly," he observed, impressed. "It usually takes new executives months, if not years, to grasp the fundamentals you're learning in weeks." But Amara knew she was playing catch-up. She'd see Martin Hale lurking at the edges of board meetings, occasionally exchanging whispers with other directors. Some of them seemed to be waiting for her to fail. That knowledge lit a fire under her, motivating her to dive even deeper into the complexities of corporate strategy. Her confidence grew with each passing week. She found herself contributing meaningfully in discussions, asking pointed questions about supply chains, brand positioning, and emerging technology trends. Bit by bit, she won over more open-minded staff members. The whispers about her being just a housewife began to wane, replaced by murmurs of respect. "She's a quick study, and maybe she really can handle this." One late evening, as she was poring over a complicated merger proposal, Naomi knocked on the door. "Amara, everyone's gone home. You look exhausted. Maybe you should call it a night." Amara rubbed her temples, eyes heavy. "I will soon, just need to finish this section. But thank you for checking on me." Naomi lingered. "You've come a long way in a short time. I'm proud. Frederick would be, too." Amara felt tears prick her eyes. She still carried a sadness for the lost years with her grandfather, but hearing that he might have been proud bolstered her. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "That means a lot." Naomi gave her shoulder a reassuring squeeze. "Don't let the skeptics get you down. The board can be tough, but if you keep working like this, they'll have no choice but to respect you." After Naomi left, Amara returned to the proposal, her mind spinning with data. But underneath the spreadsheets and figures, she felt a renewed sense of identity forming. She was no longer Leo's doormat or the woman sobbing in a friend's cramped apartment. She was becoming the CEO her grandfather believed she could be, and, in the process, rediscovering a strength she never knew she had. The day of the press conference arrived. Media outlets had been clamoring for a statement ever since news broke of Frederick Daniels's secret heiress. At first, Amara was hesitant. Public speaking terrified her. But Theodore insisted it was time to address the speculation head-on and outline her vision for Daniels Tech. A large conference room on the building's ground floor was converted into a press hall. Rows of reporters set up cameras, microphones, and notepads, murmuring with anticipation. The crowd buzzed with rumors and questions. Who is this woman really? Can she run a billion-dollar corporation? Amara stood behind a curtain, heart thrumming in her chest. She glanced in the mirror one last time, adjusting her perfectly tailored suit. Naomi gave her an encouraging nod, while Jacqueline Royce lingered nearby, offering last-minute advice. Shoulders back, chin up, speak with clarity. Remember, they need you more than you need them. You hold the power here. She emerged to a flurry of camera flashes. The noise was disorienting, but she gripped the podium tightly and swallowed her nerves. She glanced at the prepared speech on the teleprompter, a concise, clear statement about the company's future. "Good morning," she began, her voice echoing in the hushed room. "My name is Amara Daniels, and I'm honored to stand before you as the new CEO of Daniels Tech." A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Amara pressed on. "My grandfather, Frederick Daniels, built this company with a pioneering spirit. Though I was estranged from him for many years, I intend to carry forward his legacy of innovation, integrity, and social responsibility." Flashes of light flickered in her eyes. She drew a steadying breath. "I understand many of you question my experience. Let me assure you, I'm learning from the best minds and committed to this role wholeheartedly. We have exciting plans ahead, expanding our research division, investing in sustainable technologies, and exploring new partnerships to drive global growth." Journalists shouted questions. "How do you address claims you're unqualified? Are you seeking to sell the company? What about the rumored family dispute?" Amara maintained her composure. "I've immersed myself in Daniels Tech's operations, and I'm supported by a strong team. As for selling, no. I'm here to steer Daniels Tech into its next era. The family dispute is in the past. I'm focused on the future." A hush fell, and then reporters erupted with more questions. Cameras continued to click frantically. Yet when the conference ended, the general consensus was this: Amara Daniels was not the timid, clueless heiress many expected. She spoke with conviction, outlining clear objectives for a company that had long rested on its founder's reputation. That evening, news outlets ran segments, "The Billion-Dollar Unknown," and "Amara Daniels, Housewife Turned CEO?" Public sentiment was split. Skeptics questioned her background, but others found her transformation intriguing. She had captured attention, and that was half the battle in the modern corporate arena. Amara watched the coverage from her office with a mix of relief and exhaustion. She knew she hadn't fully arrived yet, but she had just taken a massive step in the right direction. With the media's spotlight blazing on her, there was no turning back. She vowed that she wouldn't crumble under pressure, not after coming this far. While Amara's star was rising, Leo's world began to crack at the seams. He had enjoyed a brief surge of success after hooking up with Sophia Blake, the daughter of a wealthy investor. But his swaggering confidence and shallow charm only went so far. Investors quickly discovered that Leo lacked substantive business acumen. Although he could pitch grand visions, he couldn't follow through with effective planning or financial discipline. Sophia's father, David Blake, recognized this too late, having already poured a significant sum into Leo's company based on the hype. One afternoon, as Leo strolled into his sleek, glass-fronted office, he was greeted by the icy glare of David Blake, accompanied by two legal advisors. David slammed a folder onto Leo's desk. "Care to explain why the budget for our latest venture is spiraling out of control?" he demanded. Leo's bravado faltered. "We're in an expansion phase," he stammered, "and these are normal overshoots." "Normal?" David snapped. "We're bleeding money, and none of your promised revenue streams have materialized. You sold me on a vision without substance." Leo's face reddened. "I just need more time." "I've given you plenty," David interrupted. He fixed Leo with a cold, appraising stare. I bought into you because Sophia insisted you were a genius. Now I see I should have done my due diligence." When David stormed out, Leo felt a foreboding heaviness. The real financial supporters were pulling out, and he had no cushion. That evening, as he brooded in his office, Sophia sashayed in wearing a designer dress. "Daddy is furious," she announced, sounding bored. "He's threatening to cut you off. Is there any way you can, I don't know, convince him otherwise?" Leo ran a trembling hand through his hair. "I'll figure something out. I just need you to back me up." Sophia rolled her eyes, scrolling through her phone. "Sure, but if your investors bail, where does that leave us? I'm not about to watch my father's money disappear into a black hole." Deep inside, Leo felt the first pangs of desperation. He had built his entire empire on appearances, expensive suits, luxury cars, and swanky office spaces. Now that the financial rug was being pulled from beneath him, he had no solid ground to stand on. And in the back of his mind, a nagging thought tormented him. Amara would have been the one to guide me with sincerity, to help me make it work for real. But he had thrown that away. Things only got worse. Clients started pulling their contracts, citing a lack of confidence in Leo's management. Rumors of his incompetence spread, and the company's cash flow dwindled alarmingly. Investors demanded to see results he couldn't deliver. Late one night, he stared at his reflection in the glass walls of his office. The city sparkled behind him, mocking his downfall. For the first time in years, Leo Carter felt genuine fear, realizing that all he'd chased, money, status, admiration, was slipping through his fingers like sand. Meanwhile, Amara was cruising through her own victories. With the guidance of Theodore, Naomi, and other capable executives, she began finalizing a deal to acquire a strategic software firm. The acquisition promised to open up new revenue streams for Daniels Tech, bolstering her reputation as a forward-thinking CEO. She also learned, through casual mentions from staff, that Leo's company was housed in a premium corporate building downtown. A cunning idea began to form in her mind. She had seen the building come up for sale in her daily financial alerts. Buying it was child's play now that she had the resources and connections, and it would force Leo into a precarious position. After a week of negotiations, she secured the purchase. The building was now under the umbrella of Daniels Tech's real estate portfolio. It was a sound business move on paper, with prime commercial space and a stable of high-paying tenants. But she couldn't deny the personal satisfaction it offered. Raising the rent for Leo's office suite to an exorbitant rate was almost too easy. She justified the move to herself. It was a business decision. The building's market value dictated higher rents anyway. If Leo's company couldn't afford it, that was hardly her problem. The day the eviction notice arrived at Leo's desk, he nearly lost it. He called the building management in a fury, only to be informed that the property now belonged to Daniels Tech. And who owned Daniels Tech? Amara Daniels, the very woman he had cruelly abandoned. He stormed out of his office, demanding an explanation. "I need to speak to whoever authorized this," he barked at a stunned receptionist. "Sir, the building management just informed us it's a new owner's decision," she mumbled. "We have 30 days to vacate if we can't meet the new lease terms." Leo's mind raced. He knew his financials were too precarious to handle a drastic rent increase. He also sensed the cold hand of destiny tightening around his throat. Amara was behind this. His ex-wife had just dealt him a devastating blow, and the worst part was that it felt entirely deserved. Amara, meanwhile, sat in her posh office, the city skyline twinkling behind her. Her phone buzzed with a message from Nia. "He's freaking out. Word is he can't afford the rent hike." A slow, satisfied smile curved her lips. She closed her eyes, remembering how he had thrown her out with nothing, humiliating her on Valentine's Day. Although revenge wasn't her primary motivation, she was building a better life for herself. It still tasted extraordinarily sweet. The software firm merger went off without a hitch. The newly integrated division improved Daniels Tech's market share in cutting-edge applications, attracting even more investor interest. Headlines read, "Amara Daniels seals $1 billion deal, a promising move for Daniels Tech." In the weeks following, Amara's schedule was packed with interviews, strategy sessions, and financial planning. She loved the sense of purpose coursing through her. Though nights were often sleepless, the adrenaline of success was addicting. She discovered she had a natural talent for bringing people together, for inspiring teams to work cohesively. One day, she stood on a small stage at a tech conference, delivering a keynote speech about innovation and empathy in leadership. The applause afterward was thunderous, and she caught sight of many female entrepreneurs beaming at her in the audience. They saw her as a beacon of hope, a woman who had risen against all odds to command a corporate empire. In the crowd, she also noticed a familiar face, Nia, who had come to support her. They exchanged a covert thumbs up, and Amara felt a swell of gratitude. We did it seem to be the unspoken message. She knew she never would have survived those darkest moments without Nia's unwavering friendship. After her speech, reporters and attendees swarmed her. A young woman, barely out of college, approached with wide, starstruck eyes. "Ms. Daniels, do you have any advice for someone just starting out in tech?" Amara offered a warm smile. "Believe in yourself and surround yourself with people who uplift you. Don't be afraid of failing. It's how we learn. Push forward, even when the odds seem stacked against you." Walking off that stage, Amara felt a sense of accomplishment that transcended personal revenge or wealth. She was making a difference, forging a path not just for herself, but for others who saw in her a symbol of resilience. "Heartbreak to high rises," she joked inwardly. And so, her place in the industry was solidified. The woman once dismissed as a naive housewife was now a force, respected, even admired. The memory of Leo's betrayal didn't haunt her as viciously anymore. It was still there, like a scar, but it no longer defined her. Leo lost his office space to the rent hike. His disintegrating finances made it impossible to relocate to a comparable building. Investors withdrew, citing lack of confidence. A few remaining clients balked at the shift to a cheaper, poorly equipped space he had to settle for. Morale plummeted, staff quit in droves, and soon, Leo found himself staring at mounting debts. Sophia, meanwhile, had grown colder. She no longer gushed over his business ideas. She spent her nights out at exclusive clubs, mingling with her wealthy social circle. They argued incessantly. One evening, Sophia flounced into their penthouse, courtesy of her father's money, and tossed her diamond-studded purse onto the couch. "You're pathetic," she sneered, after Leo tried to pull her into a conversation about saving his company. "You promised me a life of luxury and glamour, but all you've done is embarrass me. If Daddy cuts us off, what do we have left?" Leo bristled. "You think I'm not trying? Do you know how much pressure I'm under?" She rolled her eyes, snagging her phone. "I'm done with your pity party. I have a dinner to attend. Maybe I'll meet someone actually successful there." The words stung like acid. She left, slamming the door behind her. Alone in the lavish penthouse, Leo noticed how hollow it felt, how everything around him was superficial. He tried to calm his shaking hands. "I've lost everything that mattered," he thought, a memory of Amara's warm smile flickering through his mind. The next day, Sophia didn't come home. The day after that, she sent him a text, "I think we need some space. Don't call me." That was the end. Abandoned again, with no safety net, no unconditional love, Leo felt the crushing weight of his choices. He roamed the penthouse aimlessly, haunted by regrets. What if I'd stayed with Amara? The question echoed in his mind. She might not have been glamorous in the worldly sense, but she had believed in him when no one else did. She had loved him wholeheartedly. Now, she was the successful one, while he was a man drowning in debt, heartbreak, and an ever-growing sense of failure. It happened on a drizzly afternoon. Amara was leaving the Daniels Tech building when she spotted Leo standing near the entrance, raindrops plastering his hair to his forehead. For a moment, she thought her eyes were deceiving her. He wore a wrinkled suit, his tie askew, shadows etched under his eyes. He rushed over as soon as he saw her, ignoring the startled stares of passers-by. "Amara, wait please," he begged, his voice cracking. She froze, chest tightening. A rush of old emotions flared, anger, hurt, disbelief, pity. She recalled the man who had left her on Valentine's Day for a richer woman, handing her divorce papers like she was disposable. He must have read the coldness in her expression, because he immediately launched into a plaintive plea. I made a terrible mistake. You have to understand, I was under pressure. Sophia manipulated me. Amara lifted a hand. Stop. Don't you dare blame someone else. You chose to abandon me. Leo's eyes brimmed with tears. He looked haggard, as though life had battered him relentlessly since she last saw him. I know. I'm sorry. I realize now how much you did for me. I never thanked you, never appreciated. She cut him off again, voice frigid. Don't act like this is about gratitude. You threw me out like garbage. Now you come crawling back because you're broke and lonely. He flinched as though she had slapped him. Please, Amara. Just give me a chance to explain. I love you. I've always loved you, Her laugh was sharp. Love? You humiliated me. You threw me away the moment you found someone richer, someone with connections. Well, guess what? I've moved on. He attempted to grab her hand, but she jerked away. Security guards in the lobby watched cautiously, ready to intervene. She stared at him, an unrecognizable mixture of sadness and triumph swirling inside her. You wanted a woman who matched your new status, she said, voice quivering with controlled fury. How ironic that you're here now, while I'm the one who outranks you. She turned and walked away, leaving him standing in the rain, tears mixing with the droplets on his face. For years, she had dreamed of the day he might regret leaving her, but the reality was bittersweet. She found no joy in seeing him broken, only a grim sense of closure. He had made his bed. Now he had to lie in it. A few days later, Leo tried calling her office, sending emails, even leaving voicemails. In each, he offered more apologies, recounting stories of how he missed their simpler times, their shared dreams. Amara never responded directly. She asked her assistant, a sharp-witted woman named Kara, to filter his calls. No more contact, she instructed. Delete his voicemails. She deleted his emails herself with a sense of finality. Yet, late at night, she would think about how different things might have been if Leo hadn't betrayed her. She wasn't heartless. A part of her still remembered the boy who had shared a single milkshake with her in a shabby diner. But that boy was long gone, replaced by a man who had only seen her value when it served him. She finally decided to send him a one-sentence text. You left me when I had nothing, and now you want me when I have everything? I only move forward. Kara delivered the phone with the typed message. Amara read it once more, her finger hovering over send. After a moment of hesitation, she hit the button. Exhaling, she felt a strange calm settle over her. That was the end of that chapter in my life. She had given him her heart once, and he had broken it. The new Amara would never let that happen again. Leo responded with a barrage of texts. I'll do anything, please. And, I made one mistake, don't punish me forever. She read them dispassionately, then deleted them all. Blocked his number. She refused to let him worm his way back into her mind or her heart. As she looked out from her office window, observing the city that had once felt so cruel, she found herself whispering a silent vow. I deserve happiness. I deserve respect. And that's exactly what I'm going to demand, every single day. Amara heard through business channels that Leo still had one struggling asset left, a small marketing firm he had started a while back to support his main ventures. It was the last thread of financial security he clung to. Out of curiosity and a touch of lingering anger, she had Naomi quietly evaluate the firm's potential. The numbers indicated that although modest, it had a decent client list and could be turned around with the right management. With a calm determination, Amara initiated negotiations to buy out the marketing firm. It wasn't a major acquisition in Daniel's Tech's grand scheme, but it served a dual purpose: good investment and final closure. She wanted no part of Leo's crumbling empire left standing. When the buyout became public, Leo was blindsided. He arrived at the offices, only to find staff packing up under new directives from Daniel's Tech's executive team. Hysterical, he demanded to see the new owner. "I need to talk to whoever's behind this," he shouted, even though he likely already knew. A receptionist eyed him warily. "Sir, the new owner is Daniels Tech CEO, Amara Daniels." He staggered back, as if he'd been punched in the gut. This was it. She had bought out the last vestige of what he once considered his empire. He scrambled to find a way to stop the deal, calling lawyers, but it was airtight. With her resources and legal expertise, there was no avenue for him to fight. Amara, on the other side of the city, kept a stoic distance from the aftermath. She signed the final documents with a steady hand, feeling a surge of triumph and a pang of lingering sadness. She never set out to destroy Leo. He had destroyed himself when he chose greed and betrayal over genuine partnership and love. All she did was make strategic moves to protect and expand her position, and perhaps settle an emotional score. She glanced at the contract and let out a subtle sigh. The final blow had been dealt. Leo Carter had nothing left. Amara's professional successes multiplied, but one evening, at a gala for tech innovators, she found something else, a spark of romance she never expected. Darius King, a brilliant entrepreneur known for his breakthroughs in renewable energy, approached her after she delivered a captivating talk on corporate social responsibility. "Ms. Daniels," he said, offering a warm smile. "Your ideas about ethical leadership were inspiring. I'm Darius King, longtime admirer of your grandfather's work, and more recently, yours." Amara felt a flutter in her stomach. Darius was tall, with an easy confidence that wasn't overbearing. They got to talking, losing track of time as they discussed everything from philanthropic strategies to the best coffee shops in the city. Over the following weeks, their paths continued to intersect, at conferences, charity events, and even a few mutual business meetings. Each time, the conversation flowed effortlessly. Where other men had tried to impress her with flashy gestures or references to her newfound wealth, Darius simply treated her as an equal. He respected her intelligence and drive, yet also seemed genuinely interested in who she was beyond her CEO title. One evening, after a particularly engaging chat at a networking event, Darius asked if she'd like to grab dinner. She hesitated for a heartbeat, memories of Leo's betrayal tugging at her mind. But something about Darius's earnest gaze convinced her to say yes. Their first dinner date was at a cozy, understated bistro. No paparazzi, no ostentatious displays of wealth. He asked her about her childhood, her hobbies, and her vision for Daniels Tech's social initiatives. She found herself laughing, relaxing, revealing parts of herself she had guarded ever since Leo's betrayal. By the time the meal ended, Amara realized she'd felt more comfortable in those few hours with Darius than she had in years with Leo. There was no pretense, no power play, just two people connecting on multiple levels. Walking her to her car, he took her hand. "I'd like to see you again, if that's all right," he murmured, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. A warm sensation spread through her chest. "I'd like that too, Darius," she replied softly. For once, she allowed herself to hope that not all men were like Leo. Some might actually value who she was, rather than what she could offer. As weeks turned into months, Amara and Darius's relationship blossomed. Despite their busy schedules, they carved out time for quiet dinners, shared walks in the park, and late-night phone calls discussing life, dreams, and small, silly jokes. One day, Darius invited her on a surprise trip. He guided her onto his private jet, refusing to reveal the destination. Amara, both excited and nervous, let out a small gasp when they landed on a secluded runway in a tropical paradise. From there, a short yacht ride brought them to a stunning private island. Emerald palm trees swayed gently over pristine white sands. The turquoise ocean stretched into the horizon. For a moment, Amara was speechless. "Darius, this is incredible." He smiled, leading her to a charming villa perched on a small cliff overlooking the sea. "You've worked so hard, and I thought you deserved a break. More importantly, I wanted a chance to spend uninterrupted time with you. No conferences, no meetings, no reporters." Her heart swelled with gratitude and affection. She marveled at how different this felt from her past, where love had been conditional and achievements were used as bargaining chips. Darius genuinely wanted to share his world with her, not exploit her for business gain or social status. Over the next few days, they explored the island, snorkeled in clear waters teeming with colorful fish, and basked in the sun's warm embrace. In the evenings, they sipped cocktails while watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in vivid oranges and pinks. One night, after a moonlit stroll on the beach, they returned to the villa's terrace. Darius opened a bottle of champagne, pouring them each a glass. As the waves crashed softly in the distance, he took Amara's hand. "You know," he said quietly, "I never expected to meet someone like you, someone who has overcome so much pain yet remains so open-hearted, so driven, and so compassionate." Amara's cheeks warmed. "I never thought I'd trust anyone enough to feel this way again," she admitted. "But you've shown me a kind of love and respect I'd forgotten existed." They leaned in for a tender kiss, the sea breeze wrapping around them like a gentle embrace. In that moment, beneath the star-studded sky, Amara felt a rare contentment. She had reclaimed her life, healed from a brutal betrayal, and now discovered a love rooted in genuine admiration and shared values. Word of Amara's new romance spread quickly through social circles and business chatter, especially after a few paparazzi snapped photos of her and Darius entering a high-profile charity gala arm in arm. It wasn't long before Leo caught wind of it. In a final, desperate move, Leo staged a public apology. He managed to slip past security at a tech summit where Amara was scheduled to speak. As she stepped off the stage, he appeared, microphone in hand, trembling but determined. "Amara Daniels," he began, his voice echoing across the stunned conference hall. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything I did. I was a fool. I see that now, and I beg your forgiveness." A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Cameras swiveled to capture the moment. Amara stood rigid, her expression a mask of ice. Darius, who was waiting nearby, moved forward, but she raised a hand to stop him. "She wanted to handle this herself," Leo continued, voice quivering with emotion. "I've lost everything. My company, my friends, my respect. And I know it's my fault. I betrayed the one person who truly loved me. Amara, you have every right to hate me, but I'm asking, no, begging, for another chance. I'll do anything to make it right." For a moment, the entire hall seemed to hold its breath. Amara stared at the man she once loved, now a pathetic shell of himself, broadcasting his humiliation to the world. "He's only doing this for sympathy," she thought. She remembered the countless nights she spent crying, the day he handed her those divorce papers as though her heart meant nothing. She took a step forward, her gaze unwavering. "Leo," she said, her voice amplified by the microphone. "I never wanted your public humiliation. All I ever wanted was respect, love, and loyalty, things you chose to deny me. Our story is over. I've moved on, and I have no intention of revisiting the past." Leo opened his mouth, but no words came out. The crowd gaped, some filming the exchange on their phones. Finally, he lowered his head and stumbled out of the venue, leaving behind a wave of stunned silence. After a moment, the audience erupted in applause for Amara. Reporters vied for her attention, but security rushed to shield her. Darius reached her side, wrapping a comforting arm around her waist. She exhaled, heart pounding, but filled with relief. That chapter was definitively closed, in public, with no ambiguity. With her personal life flourishing and her position at Daniels Tech secure, Amara felt an urge to give back. She recalled the dark days after Leo left her, when she had no one but Nia to rely on. What if she could create a platform to support women facing similar betrayals and financial struggles? She called an emergency board meeting, surprising the executives. "We're launching a foundation," she declared, focused on helping women who've suffered financial ruin or domestic abuse. "I want Daniels Tech to pledge significant startup funding." Some board members looked wary. Charitable initiatives could eat into short-term profits. But Amara was resolute. "My grandfather built this company on principles of innovation and uplifting communities. This foundation will be our moral and social backbone. The positive media coverage alone is worth the investment, not to mention the lives we'll change." Naomi Pierce grinned. "I think it's an excellent idea, Ms. Daniels. Count me in." One by one, others nodded. Even Martin Hale conceded, seeing the potential in philanthropic branding. They named it the New Dawn Foundation, signifying the fresh start that many women desperately needed. True to her word, Amara poured her own resources into it, matching the company's donation. The foundation offered grants, financial planning workshops, and legal aid to women blindsided by divorces, abusive relationships, or sudden loss. At the press launch, Amara spoke passionately about her personal journey. "I've stood where many of you stand, broken, unsure of the future. But trust me when I say, with the right support, you can rise again, stronger, wiser, and determined." The event garnered widespread attention and praise. Donations flooded in, and companies reached out, wanting to partner with the foundation. News anchors hailed Amara as not only a successful CEO but also a humanitarian force, someone using her wealth and influence to create real change. As she left the event, Darius caught her in a tight hug, whispering, "I'm so proud of you." Amara smiled, breathing in the moment. Yes, she had money, power, and respect, but more importantly, she had a purpose that transcended her own gains. As her relationship with Darius deepened, talk of marriage naturally arose. They discovered how closely their values aligned. Both wanted to build a future rooted in partnership, integrity, and a passion for uplifting others. In a whirlwind of romantic planning, they decided to host a lavish wedding. The guest list included tech magnates, celebrities, philanthropists, and close friends who had stood by them. The media was abuzz. Amara Daniels's big day, the wedding of the year. The ceremony took place at a historical cathedral, its ornate arches decorated with white lilies and soft candlelight. When Amara walked down the aisle, arm in arm with Theodore, who had become a father figure to her, guests rose in awe. Her satin gown trailed behind her like a river of moonlight. Darius stood at the altar, eyes shining with tears of joy. Nia, beaming in a bridesmaid's gown, mouthed, "You look stunning," as Amara passed. And in that moment, Amara couldn't help but recall the journey that brought her here: betrayal, tears, uncertainty, and finally an inheritance that changed her life. She felt a flutter of overwhelming gratitude for the second chance at love and a meaningful life. They exchanged vows that spoke of unity, respect, and shared dreams. As they sealed their promises with a kiss, cheers and applause erupted, echoing through the grand space. The reception was a blend of elegance and heartfelt celebration. String quartets played softly while guests sipped champagne, marveling at the towering floral centerpieces and gourmet dishes. Speeches were made praising Amara's resilience and Darius's visionary work in renewable energy. Even Martin Hale, once so doubtful, toasted to the couple's happiness and the bright future of Daniel's tech. Later in the evening, Amara and Darius shared their first dance as husband and wife under a canopy of twinkling fairy lights. The entire crowd seemed to dissolve into a blur, leaving just the two of them in a cocoon of music and love. By the end of the night, the press coverage was unanimous. From betrayal to billionaire bride, Amara Daniels's fairy tale comeback. Videos of the wedding trended on social media, and young women around the world looked to Amara as proof that tragedy could become triumph. In a cruel twist of fate, the day after Amara's wedding, Leo found himself job hunting. He had lost his penthouse, his businesses, and his high society connections. With no stable income or references, he ended up taking a position as a junior marketing associate at a small, stagnant firm. It was all he could get. His new boss, a woman half his age, bossed him around mercilessly, reminding him of deadlines and menial tasks. Even in that small company, whispers circulated, "Isn't that the guy who used to be a big shot?" Every day, he clocked in, reading about Amara's continued success in magazines or seeing her face on business news segments. She had once been the supportive, unambitious wife by his side, and now she was a titan in her own right, revered by the public. Sophia, of course, had vanished. David Blake wanted nothing to do with Leo after the financial fiasco. Old friends refused to return his calls. In his meager studio apartment, he reminisced about the nights he spent in luxury hotels and the parties he attended with the who's who of the city. He was a ghost in a world that used to worship him, reduced to a cautionary tale about hubris and betrayal. He saw photos from Amara's wedding on social media, her radiant smile, the opulent setting. The man by her side wasn't just wealthy, but clearly adored her. The contrast was staggering. He had left her when she had nothing, and now she was everything. The finality of it weighed on him like a leaden anchor around his neck. In her spacious office, surrounded by glass walls that offered a panoramic view of the city, Amara reflected on her journey. The wedding photos on her desk captured a moment of pure happiness, her and Darius beaming at each other, love radiating like sunlight. Next to it was a snapshot of her hugging Nia, a testament to the friendship that had sustained her through her darkest times. She glanced around. Her assistant, Kara, was bustling with meeting requests and foundation updates. In the conference room, executives prepped for the next product launch. Her phone pinged with new messages: investors, press inquiries, philanthropic collaborators. The life of a CEO was non-stop, a constant whirl of responsibilities and decisions. Yet, amidst the controlled chaos, she felt a deep sense of peace. She had turned her heartbreak into a testament of resilience, transforming from a humiliated wife to a formidable business leader who channeled her experiences into empowering others. The New Dawn Foundation was flourishing. Dozens of women had already benefited from financial training, legal aid, and career guidance. Some had even begun to rebuild their own small businesses. Each success story reminded Amara of how far she had come and how crucial it was to give others a chance to rise as well. Every so often, magazines or tabloids would run stories on her triumphant life, painting Leo as the tragic footnote. She neither gloated nor ignored the press. She simply focused on her mission, grateful to be standing on her own terms. That afternoon, as she concluded a meeting, Darius surprised her by stopping by with a small bouquet of lilies. "For my wife," he said softly, leaning in to kiss her cheek. She accepted them with a smile. "Thank you. Aren't you busy revolutionizing renewable energy somewhere?" He grinned. "I had to make time for the most important person in my life." She placed the flowers in a vase on her desk, warmth flooding her heart. Outside, the city bustled on, unaware of the quiet moment of contentment shared inside those glass walls. This was her life now, rich in love, purpose, and self-assuredness. As evening approached, she stood by the window, gazing at the skyline. The world had witnessed her transformation. She didn't just survive betrayal, she used it as a springboard to become the woman she was always meant to be. The billionaire queen, some headlines called her. But she was more than a headline. She was a testament to perseverance, a living embodiment of second chances. In the reflection of the glass, she caught her own gaze, steady, confident, unbreakable. Amara Daniels, once a broke, humiliated wife, was now a name the world would never forget. "I'm glad you made it to the end,"